Hey folks, Yonan here with today's review of the CJRB Lago. Specs on this knife: AR RPM 9 blade steel. We got a flat grind drop point. You might want to call this a sheep's foot, but it is a little bit more like a drop point. I guess you could call it a sheep's foot, but to each his own. It is a button lock, and a pretty good one at that. It's got full stainless liners, textured G10 scales, ceramic bearings, reversible deep carry pocket clip. We've got just over 3 1/8 of usable fine edge here. We've got a scale length of 4 1/8, a tip to tail length of 8 inches, and a weight on my scale of 4.4 ounces. So my impressions and likes of the knife. My initial impressions, when I first saw this knife and CJRB came out with it, I thought, what a cool looking knife, what a cool looking design. Looks like it has a big choil, has a big blade cutout, has a pretty ergonomic looking handle. It's a button lock. I'm gonna give it a shot. So the design aesthetics and some of the key elements of the knife were what really drew me in. This knife does come in a few different colorway versions, by the way. You can get a stonewash blade, you can get a black blade. I think there's a different color G10 for it. But I digress. This is a great size knife. Here I am with my my large glove size hands, and there's plenty of room on the back of this knife. There's also a forward choil. If you're using that, then there's a lot of room on the back of the knife. The spine has a good width. It has some of the square or block jimping that CJRB is known for in a lot of their knives, and that works pretty well. So besides the good ergos and the multiple hand positions, I love the blade on this knife. Love, love, love the blade on this knife. It's just the size that I like. I like stuff that has kind of a good sized belly down here and will cut pretty solidly through everything. This knife has held up to all the cutting tasks that I've given it, the common cutting tasks: rope, wood, cardboard boxes. I've just taken some Rem oil and lubed and wiped off the blade afterwards, and it looks almost like brand new still. So the AR RPM 9 has held up pretty well. The knife EDC is great. It's flawless when you're either spidey flicking it out there or you're using the flipper tab, right? The button lock has no stick to it whatsoever, and the knife is a joy to deploy, even for an old guy like me who's not good at spidey flicking. Very fidgety knife. The cool thing also about using this knife is, even though I haven't put it through a lot of cutting tasks, it hasn't needed to be sharpened yet. It's pretty much held the same edge that's been on it the whole time, and it is pretty sharp. I love the ergos on this knife. Like I said, there's 2 hand positions. There's a big choil area here. You can still get plenty of fingers on the back. It has a nice big choil in the front that has room for people with even fingers who are slightly larger than my own. I wouldn't say it's huge, but it's definitely generous. Big blade cutout, cool looking knife, nice spine, not super wide, but not thin either. Build quality on the knife looks really good. No button lock stick, no problems with the knife. Blade came centered. Like I said, the pocket clip is very, very usable, and it's low enough in profile and has a low enough spoon on it here that it really doesn't, you really don't feel it in your hands unless you're gonna do a lot of cutting with this knife. Are there any issues or dislikes with the knife? Really, I have none. I don't have any issues or dislikes with this knife whatsoever. I'm very, very happy with this purchase. This is yet another example of CJRB finding their place in the market, coming up with a knife that's a little different in design than what some other people might be offering, and finding a way to get it to market at a very affordable price for people. So let's do a size comparison real quick on this knife. The first knife I'm going to show you is a little smaller, but it's a knife that a fair amount of people own. This is the Spyderco Native 5. So that gives you an idea. The Spyderco is definitely shorter, as you can see, and has a little bit less blade length. And then I'll give you a knife by CJRB to compare it to that a lot of other people probably own, and that is the Feldspar. So here's a Feldspar next to it, and here's this here's the Lago. And you can see the Lago has a little bit, just a little bit more handle width, length on the back. It's a little thicker here, and it's got a little deeper, thicker belly blade. But overall, the overall length of these two knives from pivot to pivot is very, very similar. So this knife feels a little more substantial in your hand because it's got a thicker scale design here, and a little bit more rounded, or a little bit more depth to the back where the back of the scales round off than on the feldspar. But they are very, very similar in size. So there you go. It gives you a pretty good idea of what you're going to be looking at. So let me summarize. Along with the two other knives that CJRB came out with this year that I feel are pretty much home runs, and that is the two pyrites, the Lago is right there as one of my favorite offerings from CJRB for sure this year. It's an excellent knife at a very budget-friendly price. This knife typically runs about 50 bucks. Okay? So can easily be had for 50 bucks. And it will fit a lot of different size hands, and it's a very, very ergonomical knife. So, again, very budget friendly at this price point. The Artisan CJRB, they've packed a lot of knife into this design. Personally, I truly hope that Artisan offers a more premium version of this knife. I would love to see this knife with better handle materials and a little higher end steel. Don't change anything else about the actual design of the knife. Just give us some premium materials and a little nicer steel and badge it from Artisan, and I'm in. This would be a $120, $140 knife. No problem if it had a little more high-end materials on it. But as it is, it still represents a great value to somebody looking for a full-sized EDC budget button lock. All right, I love this knife. I hope that you guys will check it out, and maybe you'll love it too. That's the CJRB Lago. Thanks again for watching, folks. As always, stay sharp. I'll see you next time.